with ZipRecruiter.
A bomb scare today at a Chicago area hotel where a number of Texas Democratic lawmakers were staying. They've been out of the state for several days now as part of an effort to prevent a vote on a controversial new redistricting plan. ABC News spoke to Texas Congressman Mark Vesey, who met with the lawmakers who were temporarily evacuated from their hotel.
They remain undeterred. I've spent the last 2 days with them. They are upbeat. They are ready to fight. And they're ready to stand up to this craziness that Donald Trump is making and ordering Greg Abbott to do.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott is asking the Texas Supreme Court to intervene, and President Trump has said he could get the FBI involved. Health experts continue to raise concerns about Health and Human Services' decision to halt $500 million worth of funding to develop mRNA vaccines, which are used in the fight against COVID-19. ABC News medical contributor Dr. Darian Sutton says the move will have negative impacts on global health.
One of the reasons mRNA technology is so beneficial is because it has the ability to be adaptable and it has the ability to be quickly made, as opposed to traditional vaccines, which take a significantly longer amount of time in order to produce and can be difficult, especially in the setting of an acute event such as a pandemic.
Air quality alerts remain in effect for 8 states in the Northeast due to wildfires in Canada. I'm Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time, 4:05 with your headlines on this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Will Feelright. Well, the 146th Annual Cache County Fair and Rodeo getting underway at the fairgrounds this afternoon. It's estimated that over 50,000 visitors are expected there through the weekend. Now, first-year manager Rob Smith said he has been working alongside co-chair of the fair, his wife McCall, to put on the event. Now, Smith, who is a longtime fair volunteer and parent of children who have shown livestock, said that he's been learning a lot and learning the ropes and has been supported by a great team of employees and volunteers. Now, the fair, which runs through Saturday, will feature several additions this year that are new, including a large display panel that's in the show barn area, along with a drone display. Now, livestock entries are reportedly up with over 675 combined exhibitors. While the fair is free to attend, parking is also free, and the PRCA Rodeo will be going each night, beginning tonight with Family Night, continuing tomorrow with Suicide Awareness Night, then Tough Enough to Wear Pink Night on Friday and Saturday, wrapping it up with Patriotic Night. Now, tickets to the rodeo are between $15 to $25, and carnival wristbands this year are $35. And of course, coming up tomorrow will be Ignite the Light as part of the Cache County Fair and Rodeo. Coming up, we'll hear from organizers of Ignite the Light with Jason Williams on KVNU's For the People show. In other news, Utah's Attorney General Derek Brown has led a bipartisan coalition of 50 attorneys general on urging the U.S. Department of Justice to crack down on illegal offshore gambling operations. Now, the coalition, in a letter to the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, noted that the unregulated online gaming industry is threatening consumer protection and depriving states of significant tax revenues. Now, the attorneys general are asking the DOJ to use a robust approach in shutting down those operations. They suggest blocking access to illegal websites, also seizing their assets, and coordinating with financial institutions to dismantle the financial infrastructure of illegal gambling markets. Now, illegal online gaming is estimated to be an over $400 billion industry per year in the United States, which results in over $4 billion of lost tax revenue for state governments. And finally, a Utah family is trying to put their life back together after moving to Florida, only to find that all of their belongings ended up in a crashed trailer in the middle of Nebraska. Now, the Chitster family had hired Sure Move to transport their possessions after selling their home in Utah. However, a crash back on July 31st near Lincoln, Nebraska, left the trailer and its contents scattered all over the freeway. Now, the family only learned of the incident when the Nebraska Department of Transportation found a suitcase and texted one of the family members. Now, Dominic Chitster said that it was supposed to be a fresh start for the family, and now they're just hoping to be able to find some of their belongings. Now, according to Chitster, the family received little to no information from the moving company. Dominic's parents, meanwhile, drove 12 hours to Nebraska only to find some of their belongings still scattered along the freeway and exposed to rain days that had been days earlier. Now, family photo albums, heirlooms, and also a high school football helmet are some of the things that they hope were not destroyed. And KVNU News Time is now 4:08. Coming up in just a minute, a special KVNU For the People show as we first check that weather on the 6s, calling for sunny skies through the rest of the afternoon. As we've been in the high 80s today, tonight we'll drop into the mid to low 50s and then be back into the low 90s to high 80s again for tomorrow. And right now, outside the KVNU studios, it's 89 degrees. Weather brought to you by Whole Tree Care. Right now, you can still take advantage of their 10% discount on tree and shrub trimming. Just call Whole Tree Care today.
When Dad's roof started leaking, we didn't know what to do. He's a retired firefighter, always helping others, never asking for help. Thanks to Roof Rescue, he's getting a brand new roof for free. Roof Rescue is giving back to veterans, teachers, first responders, real community heroes. If you know someone who deserves it, nominate them at roofrescueusa.com. When you need expert roof repair, trust Roof Rescue. Call 435-999-4268 or visit roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
Tee it high and let it fly for a great cause. The annual Patriot Day Golf Tournament hosted by the Cache Valley Chamber of Commerce is back Friday, September 12th at Logan River Golf Course. Grab your favorite golfing buddy and sign up to enjoy a day on the green with door prizes, patriotism, and a powerful purpose. Proceeds support a local veterans organization. Spots fill fast, so swing into action and secure your team today. Visit cashechamber.com to register. That's cashechamber.com. Let's drive it home for those who've served.
You've waited all summer, and it's finally here. It's the Cash and Carry sale at Anderson Seed and Garden. Fruit trees, shrubs, and blooms starting at 25% off. But pay cash, boom, take 10% more off. That's 35% off shade trees, flowers, and everything your dream yard needs. The weather's perfect, the prices are better, so get planting. Hurry into Anderson Seed and Garden. 5-time Best of Northern Utah winner, 69 West Center in Logan. Grow something amazing. Cash in on beauty today.
Summer is here, and so are the extra loads of laundry. John at the Duct Hunter says with the kids home, your dryer is working overtime. Make sure it's running efficiently by having your dryer vent cleaned. You'll enjoy faster drying times, better energy efficiency, and a longer lifespan for your dryer. Call the Duct Hunter today for a free quote, 435-770-4813. Breathe easier, dry faster, save more.
Here's what some of our patients have to say about how Red River has changed their lives.
So before I started at Red River, I was having a lot of stomach pain. I was overweight, severe anxiety. I had been to multiple doctors. We had done tests, and no one could find anything that was wrong. And then a friend mentioned Red River, and I went and saw him, and it has changed my whole life. I'm sleeping through the night. I have energy for my kids. I've lost 30 pounds. No more stomach pains. I just feel really good.
Our goal is to focus on imbalances that are driving your condition or symptoms, not just give you Band-Aid answers. So when a patient comes to our office, we'll sit down with them extensively and go over their blood work to find out the underlying imbalances driving their symptoms.
Call Red River Health and Wellness at 855-55-RIVER. With offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
Thursday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton show. We will dive into the ongoing battle surrounding the DOJ's investigations into Russiagate and also the latest on Epstein. Plus, we will talk with Senator Tim Scott. We will also talk with Senator Marsha Blackburn and more, all on the Thursday edition. Come hang with all of us. on Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM. KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Wednesday. It is a hot Wednesday, August 6th. I'm Jason Williams. Welcome to today's show. We have a full program lined up throughout the show today, spending our time highlighting events that will take place tomorrow night, 5 to 8 p.m. at the Cache County Fair and Rodeo. In previous years, 5 years running, the county has hosted an event called Ignite the Light. This is a mental health awareness and suicide prevention event, very fair, Cache County Fair-like. Booths, food trucks, music, guest speakers, and more on the stage. This year, they decided to try something a little different with the Ignite the Light event, and that is to wrap it into the Cache County Fair and Rodeo underway already. So tomorrow night at the Cache County Fair, August 7th, 5 to 8 p.m., it is Ignite the Light, Mental Health Awareness and Suicide Prevention Night. There are many ways this is going to be recognized and celebrated throughout the night, but the goal of this, of course, obviously is prevention, but also creating a healthy dialogue and a healthy space around these topics that oftentimes still are difficult for everyone to even talk about, but we know that talking about it helps. We've spoken many times over the years about Ignite the Light and how unique this is, because for most people, it's kind of a foreign concept to think of talking about mental health resources, suicide prevention, and those who have been affected by suicide, those types of topics in a fun, everyone standing around having a good time environment. But that's kind of the point of all this. So we're happy to invite here into the studio many guests, actually, that are involved with this in various different ways. So I'll just kind of list quickly here who we have with us throughout the next couple of hours of radio, and there will be others joining us soon. But we have here in the studio with us Jill McArthur, who is a suicide prevention coordinator and health educator for the Bear River Health Department. We have Chelsea Peterson, a licensed marriage and family therapist and certified emotion-focused couples and individual therapist, supervisor and approved supervisor. That a lot of titles there, but also one of the key organizers of the festivities that will take place tomorrow night as part of Ignite the Light. And also Jared Bohman, licensed clinical social worker and current director of the Behavioral Health Sciences team at the Bear River Health Department. So we'll also be joined later on in the program by some others involved with both organizing this, making it happen in the first place. And I'm excited we'll also have the individual here joining us here soon who kind of had this idea a little while ago and was going to plan kind of a smallish event, being realistic about her resources and her time. She was going to put this together due to some things that had popped up in her personal life regarding loved ones and more. And word got around, as she was a part-time employee of the county at the time, word got around within the county, and many people in the county, from council members to the county executive, said, let us see if we can help. And it turned into this larger event. It's gotten larger and larger each year, and it's really an honor to get to spotlight this. So Margaret Gittins will be joining us later on as well. So we'll start off here tonight with this afternoon with Jared Bohman, again, a licensed clinical social worker and director of the Behavioral Health Sciences team at the Bear River Health Department. And Jared, I know for BRHD, the type of the goal of an event like Ignite the Light has been a goal of the health department for many, many years. The data show that northern Utah, rural Utah, I guess would be a better way to put it, there's a need for having these conversations, for talking about mental health resources, mental health in general. And the health department has done a lot to try and bring that to the light. We've even had an opportunity, some of us here, to attend a training the health department did for people who have an audience, members of the media, clergy, teachers, and train us to talk about mental health and mental health resources and suicide prevention in a positive way. And I just want to start with this story so everyone understands how important it is that we all take part in this conversation. A few of us went to that training, and we realized, as responsible as we felt we were being on air every day, we were doing a lot of things wrong. We were talking about it in the wrong way. We were discussing news and headlines that had, that touched in some way mental health or suicide prevention or incidents of suicide with, celebrities, for example. And we were talking about it all wrong. It was so eye-opening, and since then, I've not been able to get enough of this type of education. But Jared, this event and the work of BRHD on this front is for everyone, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We are so proud of the partnerships that we have at the health department. I represent the treatment team and somewhat on the back end. And Jill McArthur is here today with us to represent our partnership with our prevention team. We are so proud to be able to be a part of helping and offering services to those that I've identified either mental health or substance abuse risk factors and find their way in need of getting some help and some counsel. And we have a treatment staff that are eager and willing to try to jump into some of these intensely complicated situations.
This is difficult to talk about, right? I mean, there's one scenario where you're dealing with an individual or maybe even a group who has been directly affected or is being directly affected. And then there's another conversation you have with those who, for lack of a better way to put it, one day will be, right? Most of us in some way are going to be touched by these issues in some way.
Yeah, I don't think you could have said that better. We find that by the time somebody's coming to us in treatment, and our focus tends to be heavily weighted towards a substance abuse treatment component, although we do offer general mental health counseling at the health department as well, the substance abuse piece tends to really complicate these issues for those that are seeking help. I can talk a little bit more about that if you'd like, but there are some very layered effects that people experience, not just their mental health challenges, but when you add a substance use disorder component to that, it can really make the situation much more volatile, and it can create difficulty in talking about something that's already difficult.
Sure. This is why it's important to, get together like this, right? And to, the word celebrate, whenever we're talking about the Cache County Fair and Rodeo, we're always talking about celebration. We're always talking about festival environment. We're talking about music. We're talking about food, fun, kids running around playing games. And that's not generally how we talk about these things. But we need to be able to, right?
Yeah, and I think we need to look at the wins that we get and celebrate those as we can.
Sure.
I could share just a quick story. The connections that we have with Jill and her team in our prevention division upstairs. When we began starting this partnership that we had to really heighten our awareness as both the treatment team and our prevention team to try and work on ways that we can get the message out to our clients who tend to be at risk. One of the things that we did is we were able to work together with Jill to provide gun safes and gun locks and other things that help prevent access to lethal means. And we had a scenario where a counselor is meeting with somebody in session who expresses some risk about their own safety and some concern about their own ability to manage some of the stressors that they're having in their own life. And in the time that it took to complete that session, our counselor was already on the phone with Jill and secured a gun safe for this person. And throughout the course of that week, there had been some further difficulties that had come up for this person where they had really struggled with their mental health and had even been searching for the keys for that safe. And this, as we coached and as we talked with them a little bit about how to prevent that from exploding into something much worse, it was really it was a godsend for them in that moment to be able to say, no, I knew in that moment I couldn't get access to what was tempting. And they were able to credit the time they spent with their counselor and the time that Jill had spent accessing that resource and really prevented a very dangerous situation. So we do feel like there's reason to celebrate.
Sure.
You know, when we find that there are these times when we can get through a really tough time, that's cause for celebration.
This is, I think, the concept that is hard for a lot of us to wrap our heads around when we're talking about something that can be as impactful, usually in a negative way, of a mental health issue popping up in our families or in friends groups, or even suicide attempt, suicide ideation. Sometimes you read through the list of what we know works, and Jill, Chelsea, maybe you want to weigh in on this as well with Jared, but you read through the list of what we know works and what we have proven works, and you sometimes think to yourself, well, that's very easy. I mean, this isn't something that to be an effective suicide prevention advocate for mental health resources and mental health, healthy conversations around mental health. We can all do this, but oftentimes we don't think of it that way, right? This is something that is a daunting challenge, even insurmountable in our minds. But the idea behind Ignite the Light, this event, but also the work you do, the education efforts through BRHD and other organizations, nonprofits throughout the Valley in northern Utah, there are very simple things we can do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can let Jill speak to some of those specific prevention efforts as well. It is simple, but there still tends to be some stigma around the discussion. And so for some people, they feel as though if they don't talk about it, it's not there. And being able to open the door to have those open and frank discussions makes the more difficult discussions later on less likely.
Sure. Jill, do you want to weigh in as a coordinator of all this? That I have to point this out for your title. A title like Suicide Prevention Coordinator. That sounds very simple. Just some phone calls. But this is a big effort to coordinate with local nonprofits. You're working with schools, religious organizations, the media, the public. What does coordination mean in light of what Jared just said?
It really is building those partnerships with other community agencies and working together to bring these resources to light. And when you talked about it can be simple, and one thing that we want to really recognize and let people know that we want to build up support systems and intervene before we get to the point of crisis. And so we want to be beginning with creating meaningful relationships and safe environments. We want to have safe places in our community to live and work and for kids to go to school. And then we want to have access to helpful services. So it's just letting people know about the resources that are there and building the connections with those of us around us in our community.
And as with many things, as I understand it, the earlier the better. These situations tend to compound, ratchet up, if you will. And so what starts as maybe, very normal seeming ongoing stress or anxiety about a specific event in your life or just life in general. I think all the time of listeners we hear from who call in when we're just discussing the headlines of the day, who talk about news anxiety. They watch the news and they have trouble sleeping, or that kind of thing is where it starts often, right? For a lot of people, meaning all of us. No one's immune from this.
No, I don't think anybody is immune from this. And I think we all have our own range of coping skills and strategies that people try and implement. And when it comes down to it, most of the time when there are feelings of suicidal ideation, most of the time that's accompanied by a desire to escape from something. And those pressures, anxieties, even anticipatory anxiety that people see when they're watching the news or they're engaging with other life stressors build. And the strategies that people choose to cope with those things can be they can be very permanent solutions to very temporary problems.
Sure. Yeah. One of the things I appreciate most about events like Ignite the Light and many others that the health department and others have hosted throughout the years is the idea of normalization. That's the word we use, but for most people out there to understand what we mean by normalization, it's getting to a point where if something like this pops up in your life, you realize you are, first off, probably not unique. Second off, definitely not alone.
No.
But oftentimes, because we don't talk about it, because, before or after the fact, we don't talk about it, many people who find themselves in the situation do feel that way. This is an entirely unique thing happening only to me. It's never happened to anyone before. I am alone. I'll kind of keep it to myself. I'm not going to talk to my friends or family about it. And that is what starts cranking that dial from 1 up to 11. And Chelsea, maybe you can speak a little bit to this as someone who works with, married couples and families and groups in a mental health resource capacity. Are we making headway on that front? Or are we getting closer to a point where everyone can say this is just like any other health issue that might pop up, is just part of life, having to deal with some of these things?
I wish we really were getting closer, but I think events like Ignite the Light and events like this and other things in the community really help people to know that it is okay. It's not weak to speak. You'll probably hear me say that a few times today, because that's the big message that Ignite the Light really was founded on, and what we really want to focus on is that it is not weak to speak up, to speak out, to say, hey, I'm struggling. And there's still, Jared talked about a stigma, and I think we very much still have a stigma in Cache Valley and surrounding areas that, especially in the male community, is of
Sure.
like, I can tough this out, I can do this, and like, I'll be okay. And then they just don't talk about it, or they don't talk about how much they really are struggling. And so that's a huge thing that Ignite the Light really started at, and we can dive into that more a little bit later too with more specifics of Ignite the Light, but is really just a celebration of life and igniting the light within people that it is okay to live. And it doesn't mean that life has to be perfect and roses all the time.
Sure.
But there's motivation to live. And so I think, again, events like this are definitely helping to break that stigma for sure.
Sure.
But we got a long ways to go, too, because also, again, as mentioned already, is that when people don't speak out first, they then go to these resources like substance abuses or long-term permanent solutions that, are really not great fixes for temporary problems.
Sure.
But people turn to those and make it harder. So we got a long ways to go, but we're definitely, I feel like we're making some headway, and the more the community is involved and we work together, I think younger generations are finding it much easier to speak about it than older generations are.
The stigma around something that is essentially a medical issue like any other in most cases has never made sense to me. And I heard, and keep in mind, this is at the time a 68-year-old farmer in Avon who said this to me. But he said he had undergone some treatment for a mental health issue and was glad he'd done it, and his wife was glad he'd done it. And I talked to him about it, and he said what he tells people, his peers, these older men in agriculture in a rural part of Cache Valley, he said, I tell them, if you fell off your tractor and broke your arm and told me you were just going to wait it out and see what happened, I would say you're an idiot. And that was how he talked about this with his friends in the farming community in Avon. And I thought that was great, that he was just saying, look, imagine that, you fell off a tractor and broke your arm. You now have a medical issue and you're not going to do anything. You're just going to see what happens. And he said, you go to the doctor. When you have a problem, you go to the doctor. And this is just a different type of doctor he was going to. And, I was excited to see that the message had gotten through to him and he was spreading it around. But as you said, Chelsea, a long way to go. Yep. Some of these stigmas are built into our pop and entertainment culture to a large extent. I'm happy to see that change. There's a viral thing that goes around on a regular basis on social media with the hashtag it's okay. It's okay to not be okay, yeah. I think is the way it's, and I think that's kind of brilliant. And as I understand it, the kids on TikTok kind of came up with that. So yeah, rays of hope, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's really the Ignite the Light, the whole if you look at the symbol of it, it's like a sun coming up behind the mountains, and it's that like rays of hope, right? And it's got these different, it's like yellow and orange in the image of it. And that's exactly where that was born from, was just this little rays of hope that, even if it's a 68-year-old farmer in Avon spreading a little bit of hope, trying to change some of those stigmas is a great place to start. Again, a long ways to go, but we're getting some headway. So
we're happy to play even a small part in helping that happen with shows like this. And a reminder for listeners, we'll be talking about this throughout the show tonight as a part of playing our part in promoting and recognizing healthy conversations around mental health and suicide prevention. But also, again, tomorrow night at the Cache County Fair and Rodeo, from 5 to 8 p.m., the entire county fair becomes Ignite the Light. This is Mental Health Awareness and Suicide Prevention Night at the Cache County Fair and Rodeo. Here in the studio with us again throughout the show today, we'll be joined by Margaret Gittins later. She is one of the people, she is the person who had the idea for this years ago, and it's just turned into a much bigger thing with the county and the health department and others involved. Here in the studio with us, we have Jill McArthur, Suicide Prevention Coordinator and Health Educator with the Bear River Health Department, Chelsea Peterson, licensed marriage and family therapist, and one of the coordinators on planning the events for Ignite the Light as well, and Jared Bohman, a licensed clinical social worker and director of the Behavioral Health Services team at the Bear River Health Department. We've got a lot to talk about. On the other side, we'll get specific. We'll talk about recognizing risk factors, ways you can be proactive in this, either for yourself or for others, and more, celebrating and highlighting Ignite the Light tomorrow night at the Cache County Fair here on For the People. We'll take a quick break now, check in on today's headlines with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
And thank you, Jason. The Rich County Sheriff's Office has been cut in half after 2 deputies resigned suddenly over what they describe as insufficient pay, long hours, and a lack of resources. Now, the department, which serves the entire county, had only 4 deputies before the resignations took place. Now, one of those deputies, Brian Wilmore, who has 16 years of law enforcement experience, said the lack of adequate staffing had made the job overwhelming, particularly during the busy summer season. Now, Wilmore's wife, Aubrey, also expressed concern over her husband's safety, noting the lack of backup in such a large jurisdiction. Now, Wilmore stated that the final straw for him was a decision by the county to take away compensation time after deputies had received a $5 an hour raise, while he and his partner had initially requested a $10 an hour raise. Now, Rich County Sheriff Dale Stacey acknowledged the difficulty in recruitment, citing non-competitive pay and expensive housing. He said the department will be short-staffed for several months until a new hire is able to complete the police academy. And an interesting concept being considered in Provo, where the city council last night considered a new urban farming policy that would give up to $120 in credit to residents who are gardening. Now, the proposal comes after the city recently voted to raise water rates in response to a new state law. Now, the credit is intended to help offset the increased cost for residents who grow their own food. Now, to qualify, a garden would have to actively be used for at least 3 continuous months during the irrigation season and meet certain size requirements. And a top administrator at Utah Tech University, Jordan Sharp, is stepping down from his position as Vice President of Marketing and Communications. This is just after the university had been named in a federal lawsuit alleging a hostile work environment. Now, Sharp, who has been with the university for 13 years, said his departure is unrelated to the lawsuit and that he is leaving for a new job opportunity that has been in the works for more than a year. Now, his last day is coming up on Friday. Now, the university did provide a statement saying that it is trying to create a new vice president of enrollment and marketing position in order to strengthen the university's efforts to tell the Trailblazer story. Now, the lawsuit is ongoing and no rulings have been issued on the merits of the claims. Well, we're going to continue to see clear skies overnight tonight as temperatures have been in the high 80s today. Tonight will drop into the mid-50s and then be back into the low 90s tomorrow as the winds are supposed to pick up out of the southwest, and that's going to increase the risk of fire danger, the National Weather Service issuing a red flag warning that'll go into effect for tomorrow and continue into tomorrow night. And right now, KVNU News Time is 4:37. News this hour brought to you by Cardall's Insulation.
My neighbor stopped by the other day to borrow a torque wrench, and he said, "How does your house stay so cool in this heat?" I'll tell you what I told him. Call Cardall's Insulation and get your insulation checked. I'm serious. That's what I did, and I can't believe the difference it has made in our home. Or maybe you just want to insulate your garage or an attic. Call Cardall's. When you call Cardall's, make sure to ask them about the $1,200 tax credit. 755-5012. Or look them up online. Cardall's Insulation. 755-5012.
ABC News, I'm Mike Dubusky. The man police suspect is behind today's shooting at Fort Stewart in Georgia is Cornelius Radford, a 28-year-old Army sergeant. 5 other soldiers were wounded in that incident. All are expected to recover. In the Oval Office this afternoon, meeting with President Trump, Apple CEO Tim Cook.
Mr. President, thank you very much for having me here today. You've been a great advocate for American innovation and manufacturing. I'm grateful for your leadership and your commitment.
President Trump announcing the tech giant will invest $100 billion in the U.S. That's on top of an existing $500 billion investment. Trump has threatened to impose 25% tariffs on imported smartphones, including iPhones, unless production moves to the U.S. Apple has made no such commitment. The White House is also saying the administration is open to a meeting between Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This is ABC News.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. A rally for Apple pulled stocks higher across the indices and accounted for nearly half of the S&P's gain. Investors were anticipating an announcement from the White House and Apple CEO Tim Cook on a new $100 billion investment in domestic manufacturing. The Dow added 81 points, the Nasdaq soared 252, and the S&P gained 45. Another batch of earnings reports also helped push stocks higher. McDonald's and Shopify rose following their latest updates, while Supermicro Computer tumbled after its earnings and revenue came in below expectations. The Walt Disney Company, the parent company of ABC News, fell after its earnings beat forecasts as its revenue fell short of expectations. For the second time since 2018, retailer Claire's has filed for bankruptcy as it struggles with a big debt load and changing consumer habits. Brazil has requested consultations at the World Trade Organization over President Trump's tariffs. Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
At Mountain Valley Heating and Air Conditioning, Feel the Love is more than just heating and cooling. It means giving back. 5 complete HVAC systems will be donated to a deserving person or family. Feel the love and nominate that person or family in need at mtnvalleyhvac.com. Nominate prior to September 1st, 2025. See website for all details.
Insuring your business can be frustrating. If you are confused about coverages, your rates are increasing, or you can't get a hold of your agent, it's time for a change. This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance. We do return your calls because we work for you. We believe that protecting your business should be affordable and hassle-free. As an independent agency, we have access to multiple carriers like Auto Owners Insurance and will give you options. Call us today, 435-752-0101.
KVNU's For the People. Pleasure to have with us here in the studio representatives of the Bear River Health Department, Cache Valley Counseling, Later on in the show, we'll be talking with Margaret Gittins, who is the person. She's very humble. She hates to be put in the spotlight, so of course it's fun to put her in the spotlight. But she's the one who kind of had the idea for this years ago in a much smaller way. And it is now turned into an annual event as popular as the Cache County Fair. And this year, actually, a part of the Cache County Fair. We're talking about Ignite the Light. This is Mental Health Awareness and Suicide Prevention Night at the Cache County Fair and Rodeo tomorrow night, Thursday, August 7th, 5 to 8 p.m. The festivities will include music. Of course, there's food at the fair. There's always food at the fair. That's why we always go. Recognition of guest speakers and more, all talking about, focused on, or in one way or another, highlighting healthy conversations around mental health and suicide prevention. This is in its 5th year as an event here in Cache County. This is the first year, though, that Ignite the Light has been combined with the Cache County Fair. So this means a lot more people are going to be able to take part in some of this. And it's a really important thing that the county and the organizers of Ignite the Light are doing each year, hoping to change the conversation, get rid of some of the stigma around the stigma prevents us even from having these conversations in many places and spaces still today. So, again, joining us here in the studio, we have Jill McArthur, Suicide Prevention Coordinator and Health Educator at the Bear River Health Department, Chelsea Peterson, licensed marriage and family therapist, and also working with a group we'll talk more about. She is the founder of Cache Valley Counseling. Also with us here in the studio, and I've just been informed that I've been saying his name wrong throughout the entire show so far. I don't know why I put an N in your name, Jared. I'm sorry about that. Jared Bohman. I've been calling him Jared Bonham. I don't know why. I think I had the band on my brain or something. But Jared Bohman, licensed clinical social worker and director of the Behavioral Health Services team at the Bear River Health Department. So continuing on our conversation here, We've covered the need for this, the need for these events, the need for talking about it in a healthy and productive way, the stigma that holds a lot of us back, what has to be thought of. All of us need to start thinking about it this way, an outdated and extremely harmful way of thinking about mental health separately from other medical issues that might pop up. A listener via a text here saying, I'd use the example that an older gentleman in agriculture in Avon had given me. If you fell off your tractor and broke your arm and said, I'm not going to go to the doctor, I'm going to wait and see what happens, I would call you an idiot. Those were his words. That's how he speaks to his friends about mental health. And I thought that was kind of great. Obviously blunt and kind of mean, but a listener saying, imagine someone, when you have indigestion, you take something for it. Why would you not do the same with mental health? Go talk to someone. Talk to your primary care doctor even about anti-anxiety medication. I mean, there's so many different examples, and yet there's this stigma around it that literally prevents people from doing that. To paint a stark picture here, a story that I was told when we talked about Ignite the Light last year, a listener had mentioned that he had been struggling with mental health issues for a while, and he knew that. And he was regularly seeing his doctor for other health issues. But he never mentioned it, never brought it up to his doctor, never said anything until one day in a conversation, his doctor just kind of offhandedly mentioned to him, I, as your doctor, have been struggling with anxiety. And I've been seeking, help from another medical professional on this. And it's made me a better doctor. And he said that as soon as his doctor told him that, he said, well, while I'm here, but he hadn't brought it up before then, even to his own regular primary care doctor. That's how far the stigma goes. So happy to be a part of this conversation in even a small way here on the show today. So thank you to all of you for being here and for our listeners for being here as well. And Jared, you mentioned during the break that you wanted to go back and touch on something that we just mentioned briefly, which is a connection between, also shows up in the data here in Utah on a regular basis, connection between drug abuse or drug